Hello, my name is Tom Deits. I and my colleague, Professor Catherine Lacomere, presented a talk at the 2013 ASQ Advancing the STEM Agenda Conference on June 4th of this year. Our talk was titled Blending Innovation, Student Co-Learning, Entrepreneurship, and Informal Education, Innovation 5. Innovation 5 is a concept that we're developing. It's based on the convergence of three current streams in STEM and STEM education that we felt were coming together to make this an extremely exciting possibility for our community. The first of these three streams is new technologies, additive manufacturing and rapid prototyping. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The second is a growing emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship in the community and in education. This is an important part of our current thinking about economic development, that we need to unleash the potential of individuals and small businesses to create jobs and help our community grow, and to engage students to keep them focused and interested in their educational process. And finally, the need to inspire, engage, and retain students in STEM career pathways. We are in a situation where we clearly are seeing diversion of students from STEM jobs going forward, STEM careers, at a time when the anticipation is that we're going to need a great many more people with STEM qualifications in the years to come. And we do not want to find ourselves in a shortage position in that key concept that is essential for global competitiveness. So let's talk about additive manufacturing first. Additive manufacturing is probably best explained by distinction with conventional, or let's call it subtractive manufacturing. So on the lower half of this slide on the left side, you'll see a Romanian bowl turner who is producing by hand a bowl from a log. On the right side, you'll see a computer-controlled machine taking a cylinder of plastic and cutting most of it away, leaving behind a threaded part for a particular device. So again, in both cases, what we see is a large chunk of material that is then subtracted down to reveal the desired part, whether a bowl or a bolt. In the upper panel, you see an additive manufacturing process. In this case, I will add that the additive manufacturing machine you're looking at, this is a fast video of it. This is not its normal speed. It's a little slower than that. But that machine is actually depositing material on a surface and building up physical objects based on a computer design program sent to it. And then when you're done, you have the object in your hand. And this is additive because all of the material that is applied to the object is all there is. The material is added to the material. Nothing is taken away. Everything becomes the desired material. As you can see, some remarkable materials can be made in this way. That's additive manufacturing. The concept in most cases is pretty straightforward. I think we all have an idea of how our inkjet printers work at home. They have a print head with those expensive cartridges in them. The ink shoots out onto the paper and it builds up layers of various colors of ink to make pictures or text. If you can imagine simply scaling up those inkjets into something that actually produces plastic, and the plastic can be extruded from a print head in the same way that ink is extruded from a print head, then that plastic can be laid down on a surface, and by going back and forth, and going higher and higher and higher, you can build up a part in three-dimensional space, a three-dimensional piece of material, in essentially the same way that you printed a piece of paper. It sounds simple, but it actually is becoming quite a sophisticated technology. Here are two examples. On the right side, you'll see two brackets from a jet engine. This is manufactured by the Boeing company. In the upper part, you'll see the conventional part, fairly straightforward, simple design, designed to be able to be manufactured by subtractive manufacturing, cut out holes, cut slots, drill a hole for the bolts and so forth. On the lower part of that same picture, you'll see a rather more exotic looking part. That is the same part redesigned for function using additive manufacturing. So that part is printed by a machine just as similar to the one you just saw. It's 50% lighter than the original part, but just as strong. This is because we're able to put the material down in areas exactly where it's needed to manage the stresses that this part will experience in its operation. And of course, by the way, this part is a metal part. It's an extremely strong metal part, and yet it is being produced by the same technology concept we saw of additive manufacturing. It's 50% lighter than the part it replaces. That's a huge advantage in airplanes. Every kilogram of a commercial airliner that you can reduce their weight will save the airline operator something on the order of $1,000 per year. So it's cutting 2 pounds out of the weight of an airplane, $1,000 a year. That's a pretty good return on investment for that industry. On the left side, you see a burgeoning field in additive manufacturing. That is the biomedical area. This example is one of the first 3D manufacturing materials that's been approved by the FDA for use. And this is a printed polymer implant that can be designed to specifically fit an individual's skull when there's a skull injury and precisely manufactured to the specifications required for that individual and allow a perfect replacement of that portion of the bone of that individual using completely customized manufacturing. Okay, well, I think one of the interesting things about this technology is that if you look at it from where it stands today in the personal world, the world of how we as individuals interact with these technologies, we're pretty much where the personal computer was about 30 to 35 years ago. On the left, you'll see Popular Electronics magazine from 1975 revealing a breakthrough, a kit, the Alta 8800. This was the first kit-based personal computer that made the market. It could do very little, but people were extremely excited about it, being able to get their hands on this technology and see where they could take it. This is the birthplace of personal computing. On the right, you'll see today, 2010, Make magazine. Someone who might well have been building an Altair computer back in the day, looking at a home-built 3D printer, doing what it can do, homebrew, tinkering, nerd spaces. This is the kind of activity that was happening in '75 in computers is happening today in the additive manufacturing world. Personalization, democratization, and taking control of the technology at the individual level. This can have extremely, as you can imagine, this has extremely strong implications going forward in terms of the economy. I think that the economist sums it up pretty well here. The tinkerers with machines that turn binary digits into physical objects are pioneering a whole new way of making things, one that could rewrite the rules of manufacturing in much the same way that the PC laid waste to traditional computing. These technologies also lend themselves to a fairly rapid design build process. This is sort of a rapid prototyping notion based on 3D printing and related technologies. In this case, you design on a computer. Once your design is made with minimal subsequent steps, you can send that to, for example, a 3D printer, which will actually manufacture the object to your specifications. You receive the object in fairly short order. You can then evaluate it to see if it's what you need. If you need to make modifications, you can come back to the computer and close the design build cycle in a relatively short time. So that technology is very important, and it's now becoming part of our whole notion of innovation and entrepreneurship, because a lot of innovation and entrepreneurship requires the ability to quickly come up with an idea, quickly get it to market, and quickly make money. As a result, we've created a new culture in this country. Some people call it the makerspace culture or the Fab Lab culture. These are places where individuals and small businesses share tools like 3D printers and related devices, and they innovate for themselves or for a business reason. There are a number of models for this out there right now. ABX in Portland is a commercial organization. They are sustained by membership fees and so forth. They're focused on very large-scale work. On the other hand, the Fab Labs International movement is an international effort from a place called the Center for Bits and Atoms. And in this case, they're trying to democratize this technology and make it community-based, extremely accessible, and very flexible so that anybody can come in and develop any concept that they might like, whether it's a technological piece of work or, as we see in the picture here, a work of art. The one on the right is a local example, MakerWorks in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which offers these materials for a fee, these technologies for a fee for visitors to MakerWorks down there. And their friendly staff is there to help people get trained in and take advantage of these new technologies for their own uses. And finally, the authentic STEM experience. We need to get those authentic STEM experiences in place for our students today to keep them engaged in STEM, keep them engaged in thinking about innovation and working together. And that's one of the things that hands-on science museums have been doing for many years very successfully. And these are some photos from an event fairly recently at the Impression 5 Science Center in Lansing. This is our Nano Day exhibit. And I think you can see that these are some kids who are really engaged in what they're doing. They're thinking about it, they're looking at it, they're manipulating it, they're talking about it. And that's very important. So we have a model for how to engage kids and younger people in STEM activities. The hands-on science museum has been a great success in that area. Well, they recognize that this entrepreneurship innovation piece is a key component, and so hands-on science museums are now developing design-build challenges within the envelope of the museum itself. So, for example, at the Boston Museum of Science, we see the design challenges area where kids can come in and they're given the design challenges, a set of materials, and they're then unleashed to develop a way to meet design goals using the materials that are available to them. The San Francisco Exploratorium has a more open-ended tinkering studio where kids can come in and build pretty much whatever they want. That it gives them a chance to see what happens, to work towards the goal, and perhaps even to work with other students to create something new and unique. Lansing Impression 5 Science Center also has a build zone, and that also contains open-ended activities. They provide materials for kids to work with and challenges for them to use those materials to achieve a given end. The additive, those are fairly simple technological examples, but more sophisticated technology is coming into play in this educational environment. Here, for example, is the Tinkering with Technology program, which is going on in the UK, and where they're bringing 3D printing technology into the elementary classroom. This is a K-6 elementary school that is now engaged in rapid prototyping in the classroom. Well, that's terrific. For those of us who aren't in school, though, it's a bit of a challenge to know how, if we were interested in these kinds of things, how would we, as individuals, as community members, interact with this new technology? Well, here are some of the examples of where this technology can be found in the Lansing area. The Lansing Spartan Innovations in East Lansing, Michigan has some of this technology available at their facility. There's the newly announced Lansing Makers Network, which will be housed in this building in downtown Lansing. The MSU School of Engineering clearly has a lot of this material available. I think you'll agree that for the average person, these are not the places that we would wander into necessarily to say, I wonder whether I could try playing with your equipment. Not what they're designed for, and that's fine. So maybe there's a gap here we need to fill. Well, that's been the consensus among hands-on science museums, that is indeed a gap that needs to be filled, and they're responding to that by creating fab labs and similar facilities within public spaces. So here's the Wanger family fab lab at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, which is quite a new facility. Fayette Public Library is building a makerspace within their library because of the large number of folks that come by the library. This will give them a chance to see that technology. And one of my favorites, the WO Lab in Togo. This is there's no building here. These folks have the equipment. They bought it. They bring out the equipment they have. They put it on tables out in the courtyard, and they invite the community to come in and just experiment. And as you can see, their goal is democratization of this technology, which is also our goal. Their URL reads Democracy of Technology. Make everybody equal in front of new technology. So this engaging of students in STEM, this engaging of students in the hands-on concept is a really key piece of our educational objectives today. This is from the President's Council of Advisors on Scientific Technology and their Science and Technology in their most recent report. Classroom approaches that engage students in active learning, promote retention of information and critical thinking skills compared with a sole reliance on lecturing, and increase persistence of students in STEM majors are important goals for our STEM education going forward. The hands-on science museum community, the informal education community, agrees this is a key driver going forward. There's a rapidly emerging consensus that the most successful museums of the future will be places to hang out, engage, and contribute. Museums that blur the boundaries between back of the house and the public side. So those are the three STEM streams that lead us to the concept for Innovation 5. Innovation 5 will have the following operations going on. These are our four major target audiences. Clearly, children. Children engage in age-appropriate STEM activities revolving around design and build, as we saw in some other hands-on science museums, rapid prototyping technologies, as we saw in elementary school classrooms. But place that in an aspirational setting. in a setting where they will be able to see and interact with more advanced users using more advanced equipment. And they'll be able to say to themselves, gee, I could come back here and I could do more as I get more education and I advance further in my career, my educational career. For older students, we'll have meaningful participation in advanced activities. We'll have participation in the facility operation and decision making. We want a student group that will actually help us design, build, and run the facility going forward, and opportunities for older students to team with entrepreneurs and community members to engage in projects that are of mutual interest. For community members, we want a welcoming environment. We want an environment where people will feel comfortable wandering in the door and just asking to have a look for their first visit. Maybe come back and try a little something. Maybe come back again and take a class. Maybe come back and then begin to innovate on their own. We want this to be an on-ramp to innovation. Easy entry for our community members. For entrepreneurs, this could be a real opportunity for them. They can use this facility to design, prototype, and build new products or improvements on existing products. We'll also be able to take advantage of our student group. We hope that entrepreneurs will be able to team with those students and engage them in the projects, perhaps in specific design challenges, help them with manufacturing, or even with marketing or graphic design. So we want to put this Innovation 5 facility within the Impression 5 Science Center. Now, why do we want to do that? What's the key here? And we think the key feature is the visibility feature. Impression 5 Science Center has already over 130,000 visitors per year. Each one of those visitors will have an opportunity to see and interact with this new technology, to see and interact with our facility, and to become engaged in what is going on in the rapid prototyping, advanced manufacturing, innovation world on a daily basis. The visitors to Impression 5 generally have a younger demographic, but their parents are also there too, and so they're all going to be interacting with this. They're all going to be seeing what's going on. They're all going to enjoy the activities, and they're all going to be able to say, wow, that's some interesting stuff going on there in the advanced side of the house. Impression 5 is located in the city of Branson, Michigan. It's a community with a high proportion of STEM underrepresented populations. That's important to us. We really want this community resource to be available to this very diverse community that has, generally speaking, an underserved population for education and an underserved population in a variety of other economic development opportunities as well. Fortunately, about 1/3 to 40%, depending on the survey we do, of Impression 5 visitors actually come from the city of Lansing. So we will indeed be interacting and engaging directly with those community members every day at Impression 5 Science Center. Impression 5 Science Center leadership is very excited by this concept. They're giving us strong support, and the best evidence of that certainly is that Impression 5 has offered us substantial space within their current building envelope to implement this facility. So here's a conceptual design of the facility. Innovation 5 will have two spaces. In one space, a shared space for children and families. Visitors to Impression 5 Science Center, younger children and families primarily, will come in and engage in activities age appropriate in nature. But they will be able to see and interact with folks who are in the more advanced facility. In the more advanced facility, we'll have secondary and post-secondary students who will be doing their own projects, running the center and helping others, interacting with the children and their families as well. We'll have community members, folks who are coming in and learning and engaging with this technology. Small businesses and entrepreneurs will come in, and they'll be doing work in this facility too. And all of those activities will be visible to and available for understanding for the visitors to Impression 5 Science Center to see and be engaged. So to summarize that, students at the center, young kids at the center will engage in age-appropriate design build that interact with basic technologies, and they'll interact with older students and community members who are in the advanced facility. The students will work with the younger children, they'll pursue their own projects, they'll team to help community members and entrepreneurs, and they'll provide guidance for growth and change in the center. Community members will pursue their own ideas, maybe for personal interest, trying to get their hands on the technology, maybe they want to start a business, maybe they have an entrepreneurial concept, an invention or a product they'd like to develop. Small businesses, entrepreneurs can come in, develop prototype ideas for products, and they can engage student teams as resources for their projects as well. And it's worth noting that Impression 5 Science Center, like most hands-on science museums, is itself a rapid prototyping facility. That is, they build exhibits, they build hands-on activities, they build design elements, they build educational materials on a one-off basis all the time. That's essentially how these museums are created. So they're doing design build, they're doing rapid prototyping all the time. So they will also, as an institution, be able to benefit and improve their exhibits by the availability of this advanced technology within their own building envelope. Well, implementation is moving forward very well. We've received seed funding for 3 local organizations that we're using for our project planning right now. We have great positive feedback from a wide variety of groups, economic development groups, inventors groups, educational groups, all across the region. We think this is a concept that fills a very valuable niche in the greater Lansing area. We have surveyed Impression 5 visitors. There's extremely high interest among those visitors. I think we asked if they would be willing to come in and try this out. Over 80% of our survey respondents said yes, they would. So we think that's great. We have seen great interest from students in this concept. In fact, we're able to easily recruit actually 6 outstanding student interns who are engaged in a co-learning project this summer. They're looking at specific areas of the project, space and equipment design, social media and marketing, funding sources, what will our educational objectives and our evaluation objectives be. And they're a terrific group of students with a great demographic. We have community organizers, we have non-traditional students, we have women engineers. We have a great group that truly represents the diversity that we hope will represent Innovation 5 itself when it's up and running. Our sustainability plan consists of our startup issues, that we certainly will need some grant funding for initial startup of this organization. We're not going to go wild at the beginning. We'll be doing incremental equipment acquisition, building out the facility depending on need, and as these technologies advance, we'll be able to get better and better equipment. We hope Student Sweat Equity, our student group, will be interested in helping us create this facility physically within the Impression 5 envelope. Ongoing, we expect to see revenue from users. I think that one of the major sources there will be small businesses in the community who want access to this material, these resources for their own purposes. We want to subsidize, make it as easy and inexpensive as possible for Lansing residents to utilize this facility. Again, because we want this to be a welcoming community resource for folks who generally are underserved by these technologies. We will have student support to keep this thing going, working with entrepreneurial teams, helping us keep the thing alive and moving forward. And of course, another ongoing benefit of this facility will be increased attendance and impact of Impression 5 Science Center itself. People will come to Impression 5 to visit Innovation 5 as a destination. And so our visibility in the community and the revenues to Impression 5 should increase over time. Dissemination is an important part of sustainability, and we believe that this is the first example of a community-based hands-on prototyping facility within a informal science education environment such as a hands-on science museum in the country. But we think it's highly replicable, that this can be added on to any number of other small, medium-sized hands-on science museums across the country in hundreds of locations. And so this has the potential for national impact. So that's Innovation 5. Our slogan is See Innovators, Be an Innovator. And I encourage you to visit our website at www.innovation5.org. And I thank you for your time.